What's something that you know you're better than 98 of people at? Story 1. Giving subcutaneous injections at work. I am the queen of this. I have a special method that I use that makes it pretty much painless for patients. One of the best moments of my day is when I give one of these shots, and the patient looks at me amazed and says, "I didn't even feel that." Story 2. Olympic-style fencing, of course. Not because I am an excellent fencer or anything, but because it is a wildly uncommon sport. Here in the US, for example, the total number of registered fencers, which includes very nearly everyone with anything more than a few beginner training sessions, is under 100,000 people. While it would be difficult to compile actual numbers the world over, and while the sport is much more popular in other countries, there is no chance that more than a fraction of a percent of the world's population has any fencing training. Story 3. American Indian law. I haven't been a practicing attorney for a few years, but currently work in a legal adjacent field. Multiple times I have had people come in with all sorts of ideas on how the laws work on a particular reservation. This particular tribe has its own bar, and Im may be one of 200 people in the world who has taken and passed their bar exam. Needless to say, I have had to correct many a false assumption. Story 4. There are around 800,000 certificates pilots in the US, and Im one of them. With a population of 330,000 people in the US, that makes me better than at least 99. 7 of people in the US at flying airplanes. Story 5. PowerPoint presentations. Let me give y'all a few tips. Always use a black background with white text. If I catch you using a white background with black text, or any other color background with a text color that blends into the background, I will manifest in your closet and take it in it. Never have more than 6 items on screen at once. The human brain can only keep track of up to 6 things at once. Try it. Once you get past 6 items, your brain has to manually count them to even keep track of how many there are. And by items, I don't just mean pictures. I mean blocks of text, too. Speaking of text, stop putting giant walls of text in your presentation. Your presentation is supposed to add to your speech. You're not supposed to read off of it like notes, and if the audience has to pause and read off your slides, then they're not paying attention to your speech. All text should be a minimal summary of what you're saying. The less text you have, the better. You also shouldn't have to squint to read said text. All images should be high quality. No grainy JPGs that you had to resize to fit the screen. If you can see pixels, it's a bad quality image. 9 times out of 10, you do not need titles for your slides. I know it's included as a default in most presentation design programs, but it is not necessary. It doesn't add anything, and usually just draws audience attention away from your speech. You gotta have charisma when giving a speech. No mumbling, no monotone. Don't talk too fast or too slow. Recover quickly when you stumble over your words and try not to look nervous. And look at the audience. Don't just read off your notes. If you have an accent or a speech impediment, just try your best. Story 6. Raising 4 decent, loving, hardworking kids who are a joy to be around. If it can be called an accomplishment, it's my greatest one. They are 4 of my favorite people to spend time with and make me incredibly proud. I'm amazed, saddened at the lack of parenting effort or skills I see in the parents of their contemporaries regardless of social or economic advantage, and the effect on those kids as they enter young adulthood. Obviously, we made mistakes every day, every single day, but our time and effort was invested in helping the kids develop into good, decent people who would be good friends, spouses, parents, citizens, not trying to be buddies with our kids, maintaining good communication and trust, and having fun and building good memories together. Story 7. Keeping secrets. And it sucks because people are always telling me things that I don't want to know and or have no business knowing, because they know I'm better at keeping secrets than 98 of others. Story 8. Pattern recognition. I can usually say the villain, plot, and twist of a movie within the first few minutes. Sometimes I get it from the opening credits. I can sing the next lyrics of a song I've never heard before. I thought I was psychic when I was younger. A lot of things happen as I predict. I love it when I'm wrong. Story 9. Being me. Which is sad because that means there are still a lot of people out there that are better at being me than I am. But you know what? At least I am the bar they have to beat. Story 10. Long distance running. I mean, my marathon time is about 3 hours 45 minutes, which in terms of marathon runners is pretty bang average. But if you take a random sample of 100 people, way less than 2 of them will have run a marathon. To be honest, any skill that you've put more than a few hundred hours of practice into, you're probably better than 98 of people. Story 11. Kinda lame, but apparently, untying knots. My mom used to brag that I could unite any knot in under 5 minutes. Rope, twine, shoelaces, electrical cords, plastic bags, jewelry, and it's still true today. I've been challenged and timed. Story 12, I hate it, but grading comics and cards. I can take a 10-second look at a comic or baseball MTG Pokemon card and give you an exact grade it would receive from a professional company, and I've never had training. Last I checked, I've done it for about 400-ish products and been right 99 of the time. It's my one innate talent, and it has no use at all since I don't collect or get involved with them anymore. And it's not really marketable in a way that actually makes decent money. Story 13. Losing weight and keeping it off. I have lost nearly 200 pounds over 23 years ago with an iron will not to gain it back. Studies indicate I am in the one success rate at this point. No surgeries or injections, just diet and exercise. Story 14. The first Naruto Arena game before the Shippuden update and level system, I managed to get the N1 spot in the game a couple times, so you could say I was better than 98 of the world. Story 15. Identifying woody landscape plants in all seasons. Hyperfixation and graduate degree in Hort will do that. Now, I design software, but taking a hike with me is super annoying. Story 16. Perseverance. If y'all knew the stuff I've gone through and managed to bounce back from. Granted, I'm in a 3-month depression right now, but I'm still here willing to wallow because I know it will get better. Being unemployed and struggling will get better. Once I finally have the chutzpah and the passion, I'm gonna be evolved again. It's like cocooning. I just know it. Story 17. I'm a data analyst that's so specialized that only about 70 people in the world do it. It's so specialized that I can tell you what it is because I like having an anonymous Reddit account. Story 18. Golf. It's been said that only 5 of the world's golfers, not people, golfers can shoot under 90 for 18 holes, and that only 5 of them can shoot under 80. I've shot under 70 multiple times. So that's at least the top 5 of the top 5 of the top 5 in a sport that not every person on earth plays. I like my odds on being top 2 overall. Story 19. Wanting people to be happy. This is not a joke or exaggeration. The nicest people I know still turn rabid when it's US versus them. I genuinely want even the people who fill me with hate to be happy when it's all over. It's easy to want it for people you identify or sympathize with. I genuinely want what's best for every last person. And when I get away from the internet and alone in a room with some of the people I really figured were more sympathetic than me, they really aren't. At best, a lot of the good ones are live and let live types. At worst, people genuinely want others to fail hard. Actual desire for anything bad for another person doesn't even compute for me. I've fought, screamed, broken things, said aggressive things, so I'm far from immune to experiencing hate. It's just that once that fire is out, I really don't understand truly wanting bad things for others. I find myself genuinely hoping my worst enemies are happy and that they just stay away from me. I used to be such a mean guy, I don't know what happened. I miss it. Story 20. It's not that hard to be better than 98 of people if your job or hobby is even slightly obscure. I bet I make better yogurt than 98 of people. Even though 3D printing is popular, I still think I'm more knowledgeable than 98 of the population, especially if the population sample is my town of old people. Story 21. Taking standardized tests. I virtually always score in the 99th percentile. I don't think it's that I'm actually that smart. I think I'm just really good at taking that kind of test. I'm just a regular guy, but give me a 2 pencil and a Scantron sheet, and I turn into Batman. Story 22. The PSAT. I scored in the 99th percentile for the all juniors in the country. It's not an accomplishment that means anything though, but it's what I have. Story 23. Detecting. When people are lying to me. In my profession, I often have to ask people questions I already know the answer to. My questions are mostly to jog their memory or get them to admit they made stuff up and then just tell me the truth. Over time, you learn people will say whatever they can if they think it'll get you to give them a magical get-out-of-jail-free card, when really we just need to them confirm that they know what we know. Story 24. Teaching math. I'm a high school math teacher and am good at my job. Considering that there are over 8 billion people in the world, the top 2 of the population is 160 million people. There's not even 160 million teachers worldwide. So I feel very confident saying I'm better than 98 of people at teaching math. Story 25. Keeping secrets. I pretty much just zone out all the time and don't take in a single word of what the person has told me. And so when they ask me if I told anyone, I just say, told anyone what? Story 26. Film and digital projection. 16mm, 35mm, 570 meters. Digital cinema of all sorts. I run projection booths at film festivals across the US. I try to be humble because there are tons of union and non-union projectionists who are very good too, but many older projectionists are old man shakes fist at cloud type dudes. didn't want to keep up with changing tech. Luckily for me, I was trained at a weird time within cinema exhibition. I began using film platters at multiplexes, then on changeover-style projection reel-to-reel. Then I helped with the digital rollover from film about 2009 with Avatar, until a basic full conversion to digital in most chain cinemas. I've learned how to repair support basically any sort of projection equipment, film or otherwise. At this point, 20 years into my career, I'm one of those childhood trauma-induced perfectionists, and while it's not a nice thing to be, it does help me run perfect shows. So yeah, humble brag, but I'm pretty good at my trade. Story 27. There are a few games that are older and very niche, and I've played them a bunch, but almost certainly it's like less than one of the world even has heard of it. Significantly fewer have played, and fewer of them have actually played enough to get good at it. So if I had a gun to my head I had to win, I'm picking that, and just dominating them in the game. Story 28. Nutritional knowledge. I've spent the last 5 years down the nutrition and healing rabbit hole and have a study filled with books on healing. I feel like my brain is the keeper of all nutritional knowledge, lol. Story 29. I can run a 5K in 21 minutes flat and a half marathon in about 135. Not great by any means, but the average person can't even run 1 mile, so these times are probably in those high percentiles. Story 30. Reaching things up high. I am 68 tall. Also, I know how to work on an old type of HVAC controls, known as pneumatics using air, instead of electricity to control large equipment. AMD monitor temps not better than 98 of the world, but definitely in my city. Story 31. Procrastinating. I will outdo you every time and still get it done with inner dialogue, self-sabotaging, and adrenaline to get it done. Rinse, dry, repeat. Story 32. Lifting heavy things. Among internet gym people, I'm probably not even in the top 20. Among real-life gym goers near me, I'm in the top 5, and among the world, I'm among the tops. DU1 because most people don't even lift. Story 33. Memorizing entire orchestral scores, i.e., film scores, video game scores, and being able to recall and hum it out on demand without the music itself to go along with. Story 34. Definitely somehow convincing my smoke show of a wife to date me. Like I'm not bad looking, heck I'm even a bit funny, but she's like a bombshell. Still to this day, I have no idea how I did it. But I am the only one to accomplish this, yeah? Story 35. My own way of cutting food. I have never seen anyone else do it, and often get told it is wrong, but then they say they can't fix it because it is a hybrid of cultures. Story 36. Being in the present moment. It's the key to life for me. I highly recommend reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I have seen it change many people's lives. Story 37. Objectively measurable. Typing speed, 130 WPM AVG League of Legends, Diamond 3 World of Warcraft PvP, Arena, 2300 Subjective IDK nothing? I would never say I'm better than 98 of people at anything that doesn't have like direct comparison and measurement like ELO or something like that. And even then I wouldn't really mention it unless it was absolutely relevant and basically prompted in conversation. Like someone super inexperienced repeatedly criticizing me playing one of the games I'm proficient at. Story 38. Relative pitch and figuring out melodies on the piano. Chords are much harder, but both of these things don't take as much practice as people think. It helps if you can sing or whistle on pitch too. It exercises that same part of your brain. Rhythm and finger dexterity comes more into play when trying to translate it to an instrument. I'm no Jacob Collier, though, or those young kids who can hear cluster chords and correctly list each note in order. That is some ingrained auditory training or perhaps God-given talent. Story 39. I'm 196 centimeters tall, so that makes me about 7 standard deviations above the mean. So I'm 99, 7% better at getting things off of high shelves than the greater population. Story 40. Beating the absolute radiance in the Hollow Knight game. Less than 1 of players have this achievement, and most of the world don't even play the game. It is very hard fight, and it was a very emotional moment when I finally made it. I played the game together with other 8 friends for over a month before I moved to another country. We have matching tattoos of the game's main character, and I will never forget these moments. Still an experience few people will ever have. Story 41. I'm better at using Excel and other computer-based applications than 98 of my institution. I'm not in IT, but I'm apparently the go-to person when someone needs assistance with working in 2025. Story 42. Improving people's home audio setups. There's only a handful of us that can optimize things. The majority of people just place speakers with no clue what they are doing. Story 43. Detecting urine and fecal abnormal at a microscopic level. Compared to my peers, I'm not really the best lowall, but I'm pretty sure 98 of people across the world don't really know how to do it. So, story 44, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I am a mediocre hobbyist, but I've been training for 20 years. I bet 2 of the population has never done it, so even if I just am better than the people who've never tried it, it fits the criteria of this question.